Nedelin Catastrophe. October 24, 1960. On a remote pad at Baikonur, the Soviet Union prepared to test its massive R-16 intercontinental missile, a weapon meant to rival America's rockets. Marshal Mitrofan Nedelin, commander of the Strategic Rocket Forces, demanded results fast. Engineers knew the rocket was unfinished, but political pressure forced them to cut corners. Hundreds of men crowded dangerously close to the launch pad, working around the clock under unsafe conditions. As technicians fueled the rocket, a wiring fault triggered premature ignition. The missile erupted into a massive fireball, raining burning propellant and molten debris across the site. Soldiers and engineers were incinerated instantly. Marshal Nedelin himself was killed on the spot. The official Soviet report claimed 78 dead, but eyewitnesses insisted the toll exceeded 100 lives, making it the deadliest disaster in rocketry history. Survivors recalled the smell of burning chemicals and bodies lingering for days. The Soviet government buried the truth under secrecy, calling it a plane crash to the public. Soyuz 11. In June 1971, cosmonauts Georgy Dobrovolsky, Viktor Patsayev, and Vladislav Volkov made history as the first crew to live aboard a space station, Salyut 1. They spent 23 days conducting experiments, proving humans could survive long-duration missions. But the triumph ended in silence. On June 30th, as their capsule re-entered the atmosphere, a cabin ventilation valve accidentally opened. The spacecraft depressurized in seconds. Without pressure suits, the crew gasped for air, but the vacuum of space is merciless. Their hearts stopped within minutes. When recovery teams opened the hatch on the Kazakh steppe, they found the three men lifeless, still strapped in their seats. Soyuz 11 remains the only case where humans died directly from exposure to the vacuum of space. The tragedy forced engineers to mandate pressure suits for all future flights, a painful reminder that even small leaks can doom entire crews. Space Shuttle Colombia. On February 1, 2003, after 16 successful days in orbit, the crew of STS-107 Columbia prepared to return home. The 7 astronauts, Rick D. Husband, William C. McCool, Michael P. Anderson, Elin Ramon, Kalpana Chawla, David M. Brown, and Laurel B. Clark, were minutes from landing when disaster struck. During launch, a suitcase-sized piece of foam had broken off the external tank and smashed into the left wing. Engineers noticed, but managers dismissed the risk. On re-entry, superheated plasma entered the breach, tearing the shuttle apart over Texas. Residents on the ground saw streaks of light across the sky, Columbia disintegrating with its crew still inside. The disaster forced NASA to ground the shuttle fleet for 2 years. Investigators concluded the tragedy wasn't just caused by falling foam, but by a culture that ignored warnings. Space Shuttle Challenger. On January 28, 1986, millions of viewers tuned in to watch Krista McAuliffe, a schoolteacher chosen for NASA's Teacher in Space program, launch aboard STS-51L Challenger. Alongside her were Commander Francis R. Scobie, pilot Michael J. Smith, mission specialists Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Judith Resnick, and payload specialist Gregory Jarvis. Just 73 seconds after liftoff, a rubber O-ring in the right booster failed. Cold temperatures that morning had made it brittle. Flames escaped, cutting into the external tank until the shuttle tore apart in a massive fireball. The crew cabin separated intact but struck the Atlantic Ocean at over 300 kilometers per hour, killing all 7. The disaster, broadcast live, horrified the world. Later investigations revealed NASA had ignored engineers' warnings about launching in freezing weather. Challenger became a symbol of how bureaucratic pressure can blind even the most advanced space program. Apollo 1. On January 27, 1967, astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee sat inside the Apollo 1 capsule for a routine pre-launch test. The cabin was sealed and pressurized with pure oxygen, highly flammable but considered safe for ground tests. A spark, likely from a frayed wire, ignited the atmosphere. Within seconds, the spacecraft was an inferno. The crew tried desperately to open the inward-facing hatch, but the pressure inside pinned it shut. Engineers outside heard their screams and pounding, but by the time they forced entry, it was too late. All 3 astronauts died of smoke inhalation within 17 seconds. The fire shocked the world and nearly derailed the Apollo program, but NASA rebuilt, redesigning the capsule with flame-resistant materials, a quick-release hatch, and stricter safety standards. Apollo 1's loss was devastating, but without those changes, the moon landings that followed might never have been possible. Soyuz 1A. On April 23, 1967, the Soviet Union was desperate to outpace America. Cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov climbed into Soyuz 1, even though engineers had documented over 200 critical defects in the spacecraft. Once in orbit, the mission quickly fell apart. One solar panel refused to deploy, starving the capsule of power. Guidance systems faltered, orientation controls malfunctioned. After 18 orbits, he attempted re-entry, but as his capsule screamed through the atmosphere, the main parachute failed to deploy. The backup tangled itself in the wreckage. Still strapped into his seat, Komarov plummeted toward Earth, crashing at terminal velocity in a fiery crater. He became the first human to die during spaceflight. Soviet officials buried the flaws, but engineers who knew the truth wept. Komarov had begged not to fly, but political pressure left no choice.